What up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Cafecito and Canes, Tuesday night. Welcome. If you are here, I see people starting to come into the chat. Please hit that like button on your way in. And we are here to just chop it up. General Canes talk. We definitely will talk about the news that is kind of swirling as of today, I guess. That Shannon Dawson has been linked to the Ohio State offensive coordinator opening. Obviously, we all hope most of us hope that doesn't happen. I am on the side of the fence that believes he's done a pretty good job since he's been here as the play caller. Would it be the end of the world if he left? No, because at the end of the day, when you have a great program like the one Mario's trying to build, coaches are going to leave every few years. Coordinators are going to leave every few years. Why? Because if they're doing well, they're going to get offers elsewhere. They're going to get big money offers. They're going to get promotion offers. Like Shannon Dawson, he's probably going to get head coaching. Well, he already has gotten head coaching offers thrown his way. So it's part of the game. I mean, how many coordinators did Saban cycle in and out throughout his 17 years at Alabama? Every couple of years, it was new coordinators, new position coaches. It's constantly being changed. So not something I'm, gonna be too worried about, but obviously I'd like him to stay at least for one more year, to get 3 years of him and get that stability with a veteran quarterback like Carson Beck. I would want him to stay, but there are rumors that there's interest on Ohio State's side. I'm sure Shannon Dawson, would be stupid to not at least consider it. I'm sure they just won the national championship, and when the national champs come knocking, you're going to listen, I would imagine. But we'll see. We'll see if he holds out for a bigger offer or a head coaching offer. But yeah, that's what's being said right now, which is interesting because Brian Hartline, I'm sure wants that position. So, it got me thinking a little bit. Should Shannon Dawson leave? Let's hypothetically say he goes to Ohio State. Does Brian Hartline stay? Do you go after Brian Hartline if you're Miami? That's an interesting one. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. But we'll see. We'll see how the next few days unfold. Hopefully, he doesn't go anywhere. Miami, whatever you got to pay Shannon Dawson to stay one more season, I say you do it. Because again, you're getting, although a veteran quarterback this year, you're getting a veteran quarterback that's coming off an injury and is going to have a very short amount of time to get implemented into the offense. So there is that to consider. I want to see stability when it comes to the play caller. I don't want to be going through an offensive coordinator search in the spring. That would really, really suck, especially the way Mario does things, because he is going to take forever. Maybe he didn't take as long with the Corey Heatherman hire. I'll give him that, but it would take a while. But yeah, so there's that. Let's see where we're at. It's February, which is crazy that we're already on February 4th, but we will be talking some spring football. I know you probably saw it in the description already. I am having a guest tonight. Jazz Santana will be joining us. And you know what? I actually see him backstage messing around. Gonna get the thumbs up from him. Are you ready to come on? Want to just hop on now? All right. Let's just bring him on. What the hell? What's up?
Listen, I was on backstage just to hear late nights with John over here, the voice, the radio voice, man. I just wanted to hear it, bro.
I appreciate the velvety smooth.
The velvety smooth voice, man. Come on,
yeah, man. So what's up, man? Been a while. How you doing?
Yeah, man. Working hard. Traveling a lot for work, so it's been a grind, man. So first of all, I appreciate you and the rest of the podcasters and the YouTubers that provide good content, man. Sometimes sometimes I got to keep in keep in the loop that way. Sometimes I'm able to talk to some of my people, but it's been crazy with work. So you guys are doing some great work, but just trying to man, there's so much information, and it's funny though because my shows are on Monday, and a lot of stuff breaks like on Tuesday, and it's like Jesus Christ, just missed everything that's gonna break. Now we got to wait a whole week to talk about it. So it's kind of crazy, but man, you guys do a good job, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. No, and I appreciate what you guys do. You guys do a great job, obviously, as well. So I listen to you guys a lot, and you also break down a little baseball, which we'll touch on that later. But I'm a baseball guy, as you are, and hoping that the baseball season doesn't lay a complete egg this season again.
I'll be at the scrimmage tomorrow, so I'll have
Okay.
some content hopefully.
Okay. Yes, please report back. I'm hoping for make the tournament. I'm not asking for a lot. Just get the train back on the tracks, and we'll move forward from there.
For sure.
So I was just talking before you hopped in backstage about the Shannon Dawson rumors. I don't know if you saw any of that.
Ohio State stuff and all that.
What happened?
Ohio State stuff and all that.
Yeah. I just heard about it like in the last few hours. So, just catching up on Miami news. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, first of all, are you a guy that are you on the side of the fence that thinks he's done a good job so far? Or you're like, I could go either way on that. Like, what do you think of Dawson, the job he's done, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, well, for the skeptics, number one, I think, that are saying that he hasn't developed a quarterback and he hasn't, I mean, if you ask me, he developed Cam Ward into what he was this year. I think he helped him, get that extra edge, that extra, whatever you want to call it, that made him into the guy that he was for the Hurricanes, right? He coming in, a lot of the question marks were, can he hold on to the football because of his fumbling? Can he make better throws? Can he make better decisions with the football? And we saw some of his antics, but we saw maybe two of them or three of them where we thought maybe he was going to do that, on a consistent basis. I think you saw him, and he's still going to do it, right? Because that's the type of quarterback he was. But you saw him really be able to check down and really go through his progressions a lot of the times. Sometimes even too much. But the development of the quarterback, I think, was huge last year for Cam Ward. I think if he doesn't play the way he does, obviously the record's a little bit different, the team's a little bit different, the conversations are a little bit different. Even though they were at the end of the season, anyways. But I think that I'm on the side of him doing a good job. I don't want to say it's an A+ because I think an A+ warrants some championships or some playoff appearances, something along those lines. But I think that he's done a hell of a job. I think that this is. It sounds cliche and it sounds kind of crazy to say that this is a different type of program here as opposed to some of these other schools that were able to get a coach in and be really successful, aka Dan Lanning and some of these other guys right off the bat, right? But the truth of the matter is that we know that there was a lot of things outside of football that were wrong here that contributed to what was going on the field as well. So I think that Mario did a good job with Shannon Dawson bringing him in, giving him the opportunity to do what he does. And so it would suck to see him leave because I don't think there's anybody on the staff that can step in for him, right? Because there wasn't enough time to do that. You see a lot of these programs that have position coaches that stick around with their OCs for a while and are able to understand the system and learn it and be able to implement it if they get the job. But hopefully we don't have to go through that right now because that would drive me nuts if I have to wait for Coach Cristobal to figure out who the next OC is again. And it would really suck for him to go to that scumbag program over there. But anyways, I like him. I think I want to keep him. I hope he stays.
I think it's worth paying the premium for him to stay one more year just to avoid having to do an OC search this late into the offseason.
Sucks. That would suck.
That would really suck. Like in the middle, can you imagine? Like right before spring's going to start, you could potentially. I mean, I could totally see Mario doing this because he will take his time with this search. He'll start spring practices without an OC.
I mean,
I could totally see that happening.
that would be wild. That would be wild.
Yeah.
Who would it be? Kevin Beard? I mean, who would run that offense, man?
I mean, somebody maybe a combination of Beard and Mirabal. I don't know. They would just like kind of step in and, while he's kind of doing his final interviews and selecting somebody, I could totally see that happening, which is why I don't want to see that happen.
Right. Yeah.
Throw the extra bag at him, whatever you got to do. Change, his title, make his title assistant head coach. I don't care. Do whatever you got to do to keep him one more year. But I threw out this hypothetical situation earlier just to stir the pot and see how people would react. If Shannon Dawson hypothetically were to go, and let's say Brian Hartline is like, hey man, that was my job. Like, what the hell? And he decides, you know what? I'm going to search for another spot. And then would you consider bringing Brian Hartline here? What would you think about that? As an OC.
Has he ever coached? Has he ever been an OC? All right.
I think he call plays for a little bit.
Yeah, he didn't have much success doing it, as far as I'm concerned. If I remember correctly, that would be another. You know how we're the whole notion that Miami's bringing a lot of coaches that can recruit, but can they develop? Can they call plays? Can they do the other things that we need to win? I think that's where this falls again, right? Into another position where, what a hell of a recruiter. He knows, behind Chip Kelly this year, last year, behind whoever it was. I mean, the it might be an exciting name to hear, but I don't think it would be a good hire. I think that you got to stay away from Brian Hartline.
I agree.
If it was a receiver coach, and Kevin Beard had, obviously because of the rumors of him going to the NFL or something like that, or getting at least some interest, then that's a different story, right? You bring that guy in as a receiver coach or co-offensive coordinator at that point, and then you can name someone else. Then then I think that's not a bad move.
Yeah, I was just looking it up. Yeah, he was the OC and wide receiver coach last year at Ohio State in 2023, and then this year he was co-offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah, but he didn't call plays this year. That was Chip Kelly all day.
Yeah. No, I don't usually buy that co-offensive coordinator thing. Like when Mark Richt was here, Mark Richt was the OC, not the dude that was the running back coach. I'm forgetting his name right now.
Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, yes.
By the way, has turned his career into something really nice, man. He just got another job as I think he's with where was he? He was with the Rams this year. The year before, I think he's the OC. He got brought in as the OC somewhere this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might have gone to Detroit now.
Let's see.
You gotta check, but I know I saw him on the field coaching up the Rams this season. And I know he's with the Bears or the Lions or something like that now.
Yeah, well, the first picture I see is with the Bears. Let's check old Wikipedia. He was the Bears. He was interim head coach for the Bears at one point. Offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, all last year. And now he's the New England Patriots pass game coordinator and tight end coach. So, yeah.
There you go.
No, and I think people don't realize because it's not talked about as much. A position coach at the NFL level, that's a nice check, dude.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even a guy like that would probably be thought of as an opportunity to come back and coach and be an offensive coordinator or something.
You know what? Now that we kind of stumbled onto that name, I'm looking at his resume the last 6-7 years since he left Miami.
He's been there some talent. I mean, I know he was with McVay for a little while. I know he was, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, it could be like a kind of similar to Clint Hurt. He spent some time away and now he's kind of honed his craft and everybody loves him in the NFL and bring him back. Yeah, no, I'll tell you, Thomas Brown wouldn't be a horrible option. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Hopefully that does not happen. Hopefully Shannon Dawson stays. If he just stays one more year through Carson Beck, I'm good. I would be really happy about that. So pretty soon we will be heading into spring. I think we got spring ball just next month. Next calendar month, we're going to have spring football.
Less than a month away, yeah.
Yeah, that's bananas, but it's right around the corner. Yeah, so I guess just to get your thoughts on like how you feel about the team and the program overall heading into spring now, year 4 of Mario, because back in year 1 we all thought, okay, this is a project, this is going to take some time. All the rational fans knew that, like, okay, this is going to take 2, 3, 4 years to like really get this thing right. Well, we're now heading into year 4, coming off a 10-win season where we definitely left some meat on the bone, but 10-win season nonetheless. Where do you feel the program's at, and where do you feel like Mario legitimately has gotten better in this areas that the program has improved so far?
Well, he's definitely improved. I think the biggest thing that he's improved on is his ability to communicate with his other coaches, with his coaching staff, to be able to give them more leeway, more of a leash, more confidence, more trust, and them to be able to do what they do, right? So the biggest knock on him, I think, early on was he's too prideful to give up too much of the power, right? He wants to be able to dictate the offense and the defense and the offensive line and the special teams and what call we're gonna run on offense and on and it was just too much. And so I think he started to see that he's going to have to start trusting his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator. He's struck out a couple times on defense, so I think that's going to be his biggest Achilles heel so far. Right, has not been able to get it right on defense from a consistency standpoint. I think you see flashes here and there. You saw year 1 with Coach Guidry was a decent year. Last year obviously was worse. What happened could be a ton of things. But I think the biggest obstacle aside from that has been consistency for Coach Cristobal. And I think it's headed in the right direction. I think we're becoming a program of consistency, a program where there's certain things that are expected at all times. This is not a 1-year type of deal. You have to be realistic nowadays as well and understand that Miami's not going to win the national title every year, especially now with the way everything is set up with the playoffs. If you set up the playoffs now with the 12-team league, a 12-team playoff, or even a 16-team as they're thinking about in the future, if you do this 20 years ago, is Alabama your national champs 7 out of those 13 years or whatever it is that they went on? Are they that dynasty? Maybe not, right? Because you might catch a team that's seeded 9th or that's seeded 7th that hits you with an upset, and now it's a different ball game. So I think that the game has changed so much that what you have to apply now is consistency, winning football games, winning enough games to continue to stay in the hunt to be able to compete for a national title. And I think he's getting them to that position where he's doing the transfer portal right. He's probably the best in the biz there. He's one of the best, if not the best, recruiter in the country. So when it comes to talent acquisition, I think he's fine. I think what he needs to do is continue to develop the coaching aspect of things, on not only from him but from the guys that he surrounds himself with. I think he's getting it right in certain areas, but I think he's still struggling in some others. But sometimes that's the way. I hate to use this, but it's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, right? Like sometimes you get it right on one side, you get it wrong on another side. It's tough, man. This business is tough to find the right guys, to find the right players to buy into the program. It's a lot of different things, and so I think it's on the right path. I think we're doing a good job. I think that we're hard on them. We're fans at the end of the day. We love the program. We want to see them go 14, 15-0 every year. But the truth of the matter is that I think that he's doing a good job of it. But there's some things that there's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered this spring as well.
Yeah, I kept saying this after the Syracuse game. Like, if as mad as I was about the Syracuse game, because how do you blow a 3-touchdown lead? But once the emotion came down, I was like, dude, if I told you in August 10 wins and you blow out both Florida and FSU, I don't tell you anything else. That's all you know. It was like, I'll take it. Most fans are going to be like, I take it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I 100%. I think that the it changes, right? The view changes as the season goes along. Your perspective changes and reality becomes different, right? So a lot of people say, if I would have told you would have been 10-2 going into a bowl game, how happy would you guys have been? Well, at the beginning of the season, very happy. But perspective and a lot of things change as the season goes on. So your idea of success changes along with it. So that's a problem with that, right? With actually playing the game.
Right. It totally changes because you started 9-0. It's like, hey, you're still going to go 10-2. Wait, after starting 9-0, hold up. Like, what went wrong?
Right.
So I totally see that.
You saw the writing on the wall. You saw deficiencies. You saw what was coming, right? Even at 9-0, you said, eventually this luck is going to run out. We're going to get our asses handed to us by a team. We're not going to be able to come back from it, right? We're putting ourselves in that position too many times. You know, it's bound to happen. And it did. And then we saw what it could do.
Yeah. No, we saw the cracks in the dam for sure. It was just a matter of time. And that Duke game, which was the 9th of that 9-game winning streak to start the season, was probably the most telling because, I mean, we were getting worked in the first half, dude. Like, worked. And then the offense just kind of turned on the Jets, right, and they couldn't stop it. But, yeah, no, you could tell. But question for you, like a little deeper on Mario, because I was just thinking about this as you were talking. I don't know if you dug into this at all or, you know, when he got hired, but like, what did you think of Mario as a developer before he got here? Like, what do you think he did what kind of job do you think he did as a developer in Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, you could even go back to Alabama where he was the O-line guy there, and then the head recruiter there, and, you know, assistant head coach. You know that they always had, you know, absolute animals, right? On the line, at tight ends, recruiting wise, he always recruited great players. I don't know. I mean, at Oregon, he developed some great talent as well, right? I think that he was. But you saw that at Oregon there was deficiencies in certain positions as well. You saw it, right? Mm-hmm. His program, you know, Justin Herbert, I think was one of those guys where, you know, he can't develop quarterbacks. Well, he developed Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert was a hell of a talent as well. He was a great quarterback in college. Let's keep it real, right? But you know, I still think that he had a lot of issues there, and I think that that's why it was, I don't want to say easy for him to leave there, but, you know, I think that that's another reason why he made the move also because, you know, being able to come here, you know, there could have been a lot of different things where he had a lot more leeway, a lot more leash to be able to do what he had to do to change the program here. But over there, he was already at a point where, or Oregon was up here, and he needed to sustain that. And there was some things that he wasn't able to get accomplished there. So, as a developer, I don't know if I ever saw him as one. I always thought that maybe his staff was doing a lot of that. I think he was, you know, CEO, right? I'm bringing in all these guys for you. I'm closing the deal on these guys. Now you guys make it happen, right? Like that's kind of like the way I saw it. And that's what continues to happen. However, I'm starting to see that he's starting to change certain things about how he goes about being a CEO. But I think it was a little more cutthroat back then, and I think that he's been able to develop himself into a better leader. Better coach, still yet to be determined because at the end of the day, you're measured by your wins and your losses, you know, and how you're able to develop these guys. He's been able to develop some guys, and he's starting to build that reputation, but it's going to take some time. And I think he's getting better at it, you know, and yeah, yeah, it's right. But that's a big testament to Alex Mirabal as well. He's got the best offensive line coach in the country, if you ask me. There, but he contributes to that. Agreed. I totally agree. I think he's done a good job of developing there, but that's his bread and butter, right? So he's expected to do that there. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's about bringing in guys that can develop players as well. You're only as good as what you surround yourself with when it comes to college football, also. So, a lot is still there for him to get better at. But at the same time, I mean, look where he's at already. I think I'm excited about seeing him continue to build this program.
Yeah, if he's stumbling and learning along the way, but the win total keeps increasing, I mean, that's
right.
Not, that's not a bad thing. And yeah, Galaxy King, I agree that if there's anything he really puts his hands into, it's the offensive line. Again, like you said, Coach Mirabal has mostly to do with that, but under the direction of Cristobal, him being a trenches guy, him being a former offensive lineman. If you want, I mean, if you're a 5-star offensive tackle right now, dude, Miami's at the top of my list. Like, taking my orange and green glasses off. You know what I mean? If I'm 17 years old and I'm an offensive lineman, that's where I'm looking. At least O-line. I want to see that happen in other areas. Justin Herbert, I'll never understand why people thought Mario, like he regressed under Mario. I'll never get that. Because he was a 3-star recruit, if I'm not mistaken, and ended up becoming a first-round pick.
Right. So my question, I have a question for you, John, real quick. Role reversal here, but considering how good our offensive line is, right? I mean, a lot of people think it's top 5 in the country, which I would agree, and probably the top offensive line in the ACC. It's a little bit boggling to me that a guy like Jalen Rivers is not being sought out after as a higher round draft pick. So, we were talking, I know you guys were talking about a 3rd, 4th, 5th round guy in Jalen Rivers. Why isn't he getting looked at? And for that matter, what's this kid's name? The center. Jesus Christ, I forgot his name now. Patterson? No. Is Patterson his last name? What was our center's last name? I can't even remember.
This past season? Yeah.
Carpenter. I don't know why I thought Patterson. Jesus Christ. Where's my head? Carpenter and Jalen Rivers, which are 2 of our main guys that are gone, obviously. Why those guys are not being touted as, first day guys, potentially first round, second round guys, is a question that I have, not for you, but just in general, considering we have such a good offensive line, right? Is it more of a collective that makes them that good, or, because individually you strip them down, and are they still that good?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not a guy that goes back and watches the tape of the game 2-3 times. I know Flo loves to do that.
Right.
And Flo, he and I have talked off camera, on camera, that he's like, no, Jalen Rivers has been fantastic. Like, he'll pay attention to him specifically, and he's told me himself that, like, no, he's been great. Right. So that one, I'm a little confused by why he's not being projected as like a 3rd or 2nd round pick, which is where I think he's closer to that. And he's versatile. Jalen Rivers can play guard at the next level. He could even rotate in and be like a backup tackle if you need him to. I think he'll probably settle in at guard. He even settled in at guard at the end of this past season because Markel Bell got so much better. Right. But I don't know, man, because I don't think it's his measurables, because he's like 6'4", 330 something pounds. He's got the legit NFL guard size and the body type. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that one, I don't know. I think people I think through like his interviews, and they see how like well spoken and what a leader he is. Maybe he'll win some teams over. But I don't know. I think he's just a tape guy. You got to watch his tape to see how good he is.
I think it's an over scouting type thing too, in the sense that sometimes you overthink too much, you overanalyze players too much, and you don't really just let them play football, right? You talk about his left hand should have been placed, 3 inches lower, and it would have been better. That's kind of crap to me. Like at the end of the day, if he's still making the play, you
Mhm.
know, you leave it alone. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you were saying about
No, no,
Carpenter.
no. Well, the over scouting thing. I've seen that happen with players. I saw that. I remember seeing that happen with Jalen Phillips.
Hmm.
There was some over scouting of him. Oh, his arm length, his wingspan, blah blah blah, and yeah, his hand placement. They mentioned that he's very raw. Bro comes. I mean, you're a Dolphins fan. He comes in out of the gate, boom, like 9.5 sacks his rookie year, and you saw the talent. Like some dudes just have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't overthink it. Yeah, but Carpenter, I was about to say, I mean, he did a solid job for us. He has the size. I just don't think I think athletically he was limited. He didn't have the athleticism of like Matt Lee. If Matt Lee had his size, oh my God, then he's getting drafted like Pouncey first round, But yeah, I think those particular guys, those are my thoughts on them. Rivers, I think he should be drafted higher than where he's being graded. But I think they're the last guys that are going to be like mid to late rounders because now you're going to have the Mount Noahs and guys.
Markel Bell's got to be projected to be a first rounder with that size, right? 6'8", 6'9", 350, 340, whatever he is. That's a mammoth of a man right there.
Markel Bell is going to make a lot of money. He's going to go first round. I will be shocked if he doesn't go first round. Yeah. CC Malinois is just a freaking mauler. And really, he's playing out of position. He's not a tackle. But if you look at his PFF numbers, it's like halfway through the season, he's allowed like one pressure the entire season. He's sick. I love CC. Those two guys will probably go first round.
I think so too.
And then you got a slew of other guys coming in that are 6'6", 6'7", 340, and they're like 16, 17 that we're looking to bring in. I'm not concerned about the trenches at all.
I agree.
But yeah, that's one area that I really believe that the program has like set a new bar is it's in the trenches because aside from that one offensive line that Duke Johnson ran behind, we've had a mediocre to bad O-line, in my opinion, for close to 20 years now. And you cannot win. I'm sorry, you can't win if you don't have at least a really solid offensive line with some NFL guys on it.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. John Jazz, how about Sam Brown? Oh, like as an NFL draft grade? I don't know. I don't see him going very high. Probably like a 6th or 7th rounder, if anything.
Yeah. I think his speed and size is what helps him. But and he did well in the Senior Bowl practices and stuff, or Shrine game, or one of those games that he played in. I think he did well. So I think if he gets drafted, it'll be late, though, 6th or 7th round, like you said.
Yeah. Arroyo might be second tight end taken. Yeah, I could see him being the second guy. The Penn State guy's going to be number one, but
yeah, for sure. I think Arroyo's better than Loveland, but or Lovelace, whatever his name is, Colston Loveland, I think his name is. The
from Michigan, right?
Yeah, the Michigan kid. I think he's better than him. I think what the kid from Michigan has that they're overlooking from Arroyo is blocking. I think Arroyo is a better blocker than people give him credit for. But I mean, Arroyo's a wide receiver playing tight end. Let's just be real. He's unreal there.
And freakish size. Like you've seen him up close. I've seen him up close. I've spoken to him. Like the dude is every bit of 6'5", 6'6", and like he had NFL size as a true freshman.
Yep.
I remember a few years ago meeting him, and I'm like, dude, you're ready for the league right now, like physically, Martinez will probably be, unless Martinez can really like, I want to see Martinez like lean down a little bit and really get in great shape and impress people in the combine. If he does that, he'll get drafted higher. I think he runs like an animal. But Martinez, I like to see him, just the speed and athleticism a little bit.
I think they nailed it on the head. A place like Baltimore, a place like Pittsburgh, those type of teams. Even a place like you can probably see him in some other places like Minnesota, Tennessee. Just some that run some power run some power stuff. I think he's a good fit for that. So for sure, Philadelphia might be a good place to back up a guy like Saquon also.
Yeah, hope we don't lose Dawson. The Buckeyes continuity is important. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I agree. Having him for a third consecutive season would be awesome. I can't remember the last time we had an OC for 3 seasons.
No kidding.
I honestly can't.
For good or bad.
Huh?
For good or bad.
Yeah, I think Mark Richt was the last one because he called plays himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so real quick now, looking towards spring now. As far as like personnel and players that that we like that have improved. Who are you looking forward to like getting eyes on this spring specifically? Is there anybody in particular that you're like, oh man, this spring I can't wait to see how they look? Or I mean, it could be an incoming freshman, it could be an existing guy that you're like, man, this spring is big for them. They really got to take a step forward.
My cop-out answer is the offense and the defense. No, but to be honest with you, because you're not going to see Carson Beck, is I want to see the development of Luke Nickel. I want to see speaking of continuity, I want to see what he does and how he builds that continuity with the players that are going to be here, right? Everybody else is going to be here on offense, all the tight ends, all the offensive linemen, your wide receivers. Everybody's here with the exception of maybe one guy, I think, that didn't make it through because he's still in, I think it's, what's the kid from Columbus, Fitzgerald. So I think that, Luke Nickel and his timing and his confidence and his development is going to be big because for me, if you don't develop Luke Nickel and Luke Nickel's not your guy next year, and I keep saying Luke Nickel because I think the reason why Emory is still here, he wants to put some tape on in the spring so he can find a nice place to land in the transfer portal, which I'm all for. I think he needs to do that at this point. But I think Luke Nickel, his development with the guys there now is going to be very important to me because if you don't develop him, you're talking about going to the portal for another quarterback the following year. And I get that's kind of the norm now, but at some point you're not going to get those big time quarterbacks that are going to commit to you at all anymore. The Darion Colemans, and all the other kids that are out there might say, you know what, at the end of the day, they're going to go get another guy. Develop a guy like Luke Nickel, and you can potentially have him for 3 years here, throwing the football, or even 2 years, 2 really, really good years, and then he dips. You got an opportunity to have a really good player, right? We all saw his tape this year and how much he's already developed in high school. Put him with a good program where he can throw the ball around and get some experience, and I think it'll be exciting to see him play a little bit. You can name a whole bunch of guys, right? You can name JoJo. I see a lot of people naming a lot of guys here, and of course I want to see them. And then just the defense as a whole. I hate to be that guy to say the defense as a whole, but the defense sucked last year. So I just want to see what Heatherman can do with, shout out to bringing Terry Jefferson back to the program, Coach Cristobal. I like that move. I think it's big for him and Etheridge to combine back there in the backfield and have a solid coaching staff. Those guys, talk about developers, I think those guys could potentially be the guys that could develop that defensive backfield, which God knows we need development. Even though we brought in some studs, I think that's going to be important. So if I had to choose, I'd say the defensive backfield for the defense.
All right. Yeah, Luke Nickel's an obvious one. All eyes are going to be on him. Him and Judd, really.
Sure.
Whoever pops their head up and like takes that big step forward, I don't care who it is, either one of them.
I agree.
But yeah, no, obviously I expect it to be Luke Nickel of the two because of the tape he put out this year and how much he improved in his senior season as a quarterback. Just across the board, his vision, his decision-making was quicker. His release got quicker. His arm got stronger. Everything across the board got better with him. He was on a great team, but still, his ball placement was, a thing of beauty. It was a pleasure to watch him this past season. And for that reason, I think he's going to come in and really surprise some people. Like right out of the gate, I think he's going to do well. In Shannon Dawson's offense, I think it's a perfect marriage, in my opinion. Again, we need to keep him. that's another reason why keeping him is going to be important. But let's see. Oh, Hellcat. That's a popular one when you bring up this subject.
Yeah.
Love Chris Wheatley-Humphrey. I think he was averaging like at one point in the season like 20 yards a carry in high school.
Ridiculous in high school. Yeah, he ran for like what, almost 3,000 yards, I think.
Something like that.
His senior year. Yeah, he was ridiculous. But is he that guy, right? Is he that guy, the CJ type? I hate to say it, right? Where no vision, all speed. Or is he a guy that's going to be able to hit one or two cuts, make a guy miss, and then take off? You got to see it. I agree. I want to see his development. I think is going to be important because you lost Damian Martinez obviously, and so you're bringing in Prigo, but these guys are young. You've got Fletcher and you've got Jordan Lyle, who are obviously going to be your 1 and 2 punch, I think, right now. But if you can develop that third guy and either have him as your third down. Not your third down back, but your third option, and then a guy that can play a little bit on special teams also. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, he's definitely the guy that you think about after those two for sure.
I hope they sprinkle in, unless somebody really, really like takes a step. I would love to see Elijah Lofton sprinkled in a little bit as that third tailback.
Oh man,
ideally,
the real one, one. He's going to be nasty. I think Flo mentioned it. They can't screw that one up like they did with Rashard Smith. He's too damn good. You got to make sure he's part of that game plan every single week.
Yes. No, and carrying the foot. He was the best running back on the team last spring. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Because Martinez hadn't arrived yet, and Fletcher was hurt.
Right.
So
he played a lot in spring. Yeah, he did.
He looked like a stud as a running back, and in the spring game, he showed like the couple times he got touches, you could see that, oh my God, like this 6'3", 240-pound kid runs like a running back. It's crazy.
He's nasty.
He was nasty. So I'd like to see him sprinkled into the running game a little bit as well. Galaxy King, that 2024 defensive line class, I was just pulling it up just to remember. I know Justin Scott is part of it, but who else?
Scott, Octavius Jones.
Yeah, you got Armando Blunt, who I expect big things from Blunt this year. Marquise Lightfoot.
Elias
Rudolph. Booker Pickett Jr. I expect some stuff from him.
I think that's the one that's going to outshine everybody. I think Booker Pickett is going to be that dude. I think he's going to be, man. I like him.
I think so. I think, this whole class, Ryan Mack, Dylan Day, OJ Frederick, Cole McConaughey. That's another one. McConaughey's going to be a monster. I think that, a lot of these guys at different positions, I think they're going to have something to prove. If they can take that step the way that, the Inez Coopers and the Mark Fletchers and guys like that have been here a couple of years now have taken that step. If you see another class do that, it's like, okay, I think we can anoint Mario as a not terrible developer. I think, the scouting has been good. And now we're starting to develop those layers of talent. But back to health.
Building depth. You got to build the depth for sure.
Yeah, no, he's getting there with the depth for sure. In certain positions, it's definitely there. Back to Hellcat really quick though. I almost forgot. I don't think he's going to be quite like another Chris Johnson. I don't know if he's going to be like that guy yet. He's a little bigger than Chris Johnson. So I think that's going to help him durability wise. He did get hurt this past season, which sucked. It would have been good to see him, but he has better size than Chris Johnson, and I find him to be a little shiftier. But again, also it's like what you said with Lofton, the coaching staff can't screw it up. I think a lot of it is how you scheme him, how you use him, because Chris Johnson was 4.2 speed in a straight line, but it's like, bro, I feel like a guy that fast, you could figure out a use for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And not make it so obvious that when he was coming in, we were gonna dump the ball off to him on a little screen pass, right? Like it was.
No. How about you?
Yeah.
How about you scheme him open, a little drag route, put him on a linebacker somehow. There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
Chris Gahn says Zachariah Poyser, Hayden Lowe. Hayden Lowe, excited about him. I know you got only a few minutes left, but I'll give you mine really quick. Luke Nickel, obviously. Herbert Scroggins, I think, is gonna blow people away.
He's a big dude already, man. The kid looks ready to go.
He's one of those that it's like, how the hell is he a 3-star? I like that.
His name too. I love his name. His name doesn't scream at you like animal, like I'm gonna tear your head off. My name is Herbert Scroggins, right? Like you don't think about it, and then you're
he's
like,
got the glasses too.
Yeah, he's got the glasses, right? He might wear the goggles. I don't know what's going on with this kid. And all of a sudden, you 10 sacks later as a freshman, right? He's mauling people. So I like it. I like it just for the name, just the name.
Yeah, love him, and we're not going to see him in the spring. But you mentioned Bryce Fitzgerald from Columbus. He's not coming until after spring, so
Right.
He's got to finish academically at high school. But I think even the fact that he's not playing in the spring, kind of like OJ last year. OJ didn't play spring.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fitzgerald's going to come in and he's going to surprise some people because that kid. If you watch his tape, I watched his tape a couple different times and something stood out to me. The kid, his ability to read plays, to see it before it happens, very smart. The kid's very intelligent. Is he going to blow you away with his speed? No. Is he the biggest guy in the world? Does he have a huge wingspan? No. He's not going to impress you with that stuff. He's just in the right spot because he knew where to be. You know what I mean? Fitzgerald, and he's a leader. That's
kind of Cam Kitchens, right? Like he didn't wow you with his 4.2 speed. He didn't wow you with his, wingspan or size, right? He wasn't a huge kid, but he was in the right place at the right time. He was going to lay you out if he got his hands on you, or he was going to pick the ball off because he was a ball hawk. So
yeah,
if he can play like that, kind of like in that mold, then that's great, man. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, for sure. I know you got a couple minutes, man. So one last thing, some baseball talk. Baseball season's about to start. Valentine's Day actually is our first game, February 14th, Friday night. Back at the Light. Very excited because I'm a huge baseball guy. As you know, I love heading to the Light 5, 6, 7 times, sometimes more per season to catch them. It's kind of sucked the last couple of years though, which I'm not used to. I grew up, this team dominated my entire life, but
last year sucked. Last year was bad, man. Last year was bad.
Yeah, last year was bad. But I'm hoping, second year under JD Arteaga, who I do like. I hope they give him a fair shot. I think he'll bounce back with a retooled roster and do a little bit better, maybe make the tournament. How are you feeling, just general overall about the team, and maybe aside from the obvious Daniel Cuvée, who's a monster?
Number one third baseman in the country, number 8 prospect in the country. I think it's safe to say he's one of the best players in college baseball, which is always fun to have. We always, every once in a while, we have that guy, right? So we've had him before. David. Jesus Christ, the third baseman, the other David Thompson,
Ryan Braun.
Yeah, Ryan Braun. We've had some of those guys before. We had Yolandi, right? We had Yo-Yo. So some of the, it's fun to see that Miami's back at it with that guy. But I think that it's fun. I was able to see them practice a little bit. My good friend is the strength and conditioning coach over there, Nick Soto. So shout out to him right now, but he's doing an excellent job getting those guys prepared for the season. And, just talking to him, he's really impressed with the way that the kids are working out, how much they've bought in, right? Because that's important. You got to buy in, right? And that's what a lot of the issues last year were. They weren't bought into JD, or they weren't bought into whoever it was that was coaching them up. JD made a couple of switches, a couple of changes, but I think that his biggest change and his biggest move that he made, aside from all this transfer portal stuff, was bringing in Nick Soto to be the head strength and conditioning guy. And obviously, I'm biased because he's my buddy, but at the same time, I've seen what he's been able to do with Major League Baseball players, such as Manny Machado and the Gurriel brothers and MJ Melendez and so on and so forth. He's been able to really develop those guys into some big-time baseball players, or help them at least stay in that trajectory, right? A lot of guys fall off. A lot of guys have, slumps throughout the year. He's kind of going to come in and help them get through those type of things. And that's important. That's just as important as anything in baseball is staying consistent, right? So it's the hardest thing to do is hit a round ball with a round bat squarely. Uh,
Mhm.
so if you can do that, if you can pitch well, it's going to be an interesting dynamic though with the pitching staff, with the way that JD and Laz are going to be able to do that because you don't have your typical ace number one guy right off the bat. The closest thing you got to that is probably Brian Walters, brother of Andrew Walters, who we all know was a closer,
Mhm.
who's going to come in after Tommy John surgery and be a starter this year. Throws hard, right? He's 96, 97 miles an hour. He can gun it up there, even maybe a little bit higher. Last year's closer is one of their guys now that's starting as well, and Nick Roberts. So who's another kid that can hum it a little bit. And then you've got a couple of transfers, Griffin Hughes and Jackson Cleveland, and some other guys. I can name a whole bunch of guys, but I think what's most important is you're going to see this lineup. It's going to be very well rounded. You've got some really good transfers from. You've got Bobby Marsh. You've got Derek Williams from Wichita State. Bobby Marsh from Penn State. You've got Jake Ogden, who played at Barry University. No, but he comes from UNC Charlotte as well, who's going to start at shortstop this year and lead off. And then you got your returning guys in Cuvée, Dorian, Gonzalez. But what's funny is I think the most important guy on that field is going to be a guy that's won at a high level. He's won, I think he may have won one national title. I'm not sure. You'd have to fact check me on that, John. But catcher Tanner Smith is going to be the guy that is going to captain that whole entire defense and that whole entire team as a leader. Comes from Oregon State, who's known for winning a couple national titles recently. Has been their starting catcher a couple years in a row. Struggles a little bit with the bat, but if he can hit 250, 260, I'm happy with that because behind the dish, he's absolutely incredible. So, a big shout out to what they've done there. I think that it's going to be a strong program. I think they're going to have to prove it though and develop and continue to play. It's a tough schedule, but I think that they've got enough also on the bench with guys like Jake Kulikowski, bringing Gabby Gutierrez back. Gabby Gutierrez is like the Cam McCormick of baseball. He's been with us for like 6 years already. And you've got Renzo Gonzalez coming back off an injury. And these guys are not necessarily your guys that you think of, wow, oh my God, these are, studs, but they're guys that are veterans that have been around, around the program for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
That you need. You need some of those guys out there. And then you've got some of the young guys that they can develop as well, like your Arreziagas and Mikey Torres, who's starting in center field as a freshman. So you've got some of those guys that you're mixing in as well. I think it's a good mix. And I think that if everybody can buy in and do their part, it's going to be a fun team to watch in that aspect. Don't expect them to hit, all the home runs like they hit last year or the year before. But they're going to hit. They're going to hit. And it's going to be fun to watch them play.
Nice. I don't know if you saw what Doom posted. It's a picture of you. If you blow it up, do full screen, you could see it. It's you with a saxophone.
Oh my God.
You and I singing.
Let me see. I don't know if I can blow it up on where I'm at now. You might have to send it to me later, John, if you could blow it up.
Or watch it back later and like zoom in. On That's a good trick.
Oh, there it is. I did. That's awesome. Doom is a man with that, man. I love it. He's so
he earned like an extra minute here, so we'll answer this question. So my favorite Canes baseball player of all time, Kevin Brown. I don't know if you remember him.
Of course, man. Of course, Kevin. KB, national champion. Oh man, who's my favorite? My favorite Canes baseball player. This is a tough one for me, man, because let's go. Ah, man, this is tough. Some of them are my buddies, so we'll go with John Jay.
Oh, I love John Jay.
John Jay.
I love the teams he was on too, because I think Eddie Rodriguez, I think, was on that team.
Rodriguez.
The Figueroa brothers were on that team.
See, they're gonna kill me if I said that. Paco and Danny too. I love you guys. I love you guys. Those guys
Yeah.
are great teammates too. I played Little League with
Yeah.
Ponte.
They had my favorite pitcher of all time, Cesar Carrillo.
What a
My
stud.
favorite of all time.
What a stud. My favorite pitcher of all time was probably uh, that national championship team. Those two guys, David Gill and Alex Santos. Those guys were unbelievable.
Unhittable. Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. I know you got to go. So thank you for being on. Really appreciate it. Please, if you haven't already, I'm sure you guys do, but go follow 6 Ring Canes, 5 Reasons Sports. When the next time you guys are going to be on?
Monday. Well, actually, our baseball. We got a baseball show. If you guys want to come out and hang out with us, we're going to be at the Hurricane Team Store over at the Thesis Hotel Saturday morning at 11 a.m. I've got that's our first baseball show of the year. We're going to do it out there with the guys over at the Hurricane Team Store. So we'll be there. Myself and Vish will be there at 11 a.m.
Nice.
And we might have some players there too. So it'll be fun. You guys should go check that out.
Nice. All right, man. Thanks again for being on. As always, everybody, go Canes. Go subscribe, hit the like button, and have a good night. Take care.
See you guys.